everyone. Good evening. Maulan na gabi. Assalamualaikum. Fiyok lungonon. Kumukulog guys. So, pero tuloy pa rin. His Runaway Wife Chapter 14. Tuloy ko po. Alexa's point of view. I was 15 when my mom died. It was sudden. One day she was there and the next day she was not. I always felt a little guilty about Rebecca dropping everything to be with me despite the fact that she never made me feel like a burden. She was there for me. I could never tell her this without crying, but I was so grateful to her for taking care of me the way she did. She didn't have to drop everything to be with me. She didn't have to stay in Nevada so I would not have to move school. She did not have to work long hours so I would not have to, but she did. I didn't know where I would be without my sister, which was why I felt guilty about going to NYU and leaving her. I worried about her being alone. It was the reason I had called Damian that day. Hello, he had answered. Hi, this is Alexa, Rebecca's sister. I spoke fast and almost out of breath as I gave him the hotel's address and then hung up. I didn't know if he was going to show up. I didn't really know why Rebecca had left him. She didn't talk about it. The thing was, I knew Rebecca was not happy in Nevada. She was almost like a robot going to work every day, asking how my day was when she got home, sitting in the living room and watching movies in her time off. Even when she started dating Julian, I could tell she was not entirely happy. Her smile were not real. I didn't understand what had made her run away, but I knew she still loved him. There would not be pain in her eyes whenever I asked her about him if she didn't. On Thursday, I could tell something was bothering him. Aaron had taken us shopping to the mall and she was just walking along without saying much. I wondered if she had gotten in a fight with Damian. Maybe I had been wrong. Maybe Damian could not make her happy either. During lunch, Aaron and I exchanged looks. Aaron was her best friend once. Maybe he could do something to cheer up, but he seemed just as helpless. I didn't remember Aaron being so attractive back when I met him in Rebecca's wedding. Probably because I was much younger and had crushes on boys in bands. Of course, he still was 6 years older than me. Maybe that what made him attractive. No, I was pretty sure it was his short brown hair and clear brown eyes. His strong jaw and his six-pack definitely gave him points as well. 18 was not that young for 24-year-old, right? Maybe not for me, but for him. Yes, it didn't help that I was his best friend's little sister. Why was I worrying about this anyway? I was starting college. I was moving to New York in a few months, so it was not like I was going to start a relationship. So I had a little crush on a 24-year-old. Pretty sure I was not the first one. Besides, it was not so bad as long as nothing happened, right? At least he was not in his 30s. So where should we go next? Aaron asked, looking at Rebecca, who looked up at him as if remembering that she was not alone. I'm actually meeting Melissa. She saw your Instagram post and found out I'm in California. Thanks, by the way. Aaron looked embarrassed. Sorry about that. You should be. Rebecca joked with a half smile. She looked at me. I'm so sorry about leaving you alone again. I feel like I have you abandoned. I don't mind at all, I assured her. I mean, You have a lot of catching up to do, I shrugged. Rebecca nodded. Yeah, we're leaving Sunday morning. This feel like the longest week ever. To me, it was the opposite. It was going by fast. This was probably the most exciting week of my life. Aaron had taken me under his wing and took me everywhere he went. Yesterday, he took me to see some of his properties. He invests in houses, renovates them, and then rents them. He said he began with the money his dad left him. That was really good business, if you ask me. This had turned into a really good birthday trip for me. I felt a little guilty though because I didn't think Rebecca was enjoying it as much. You're coming tomorrow to play volleyball with me and my peeps, Aaron told Rebecca as he brought the cup to his lips. I haven't played in so long, Aaron, Rebecca said. I'm pretty sure I suck now. You're coming, Reb, for old time's sake. Rebecca rolled her eyes at him. Fine, she said, then stood up. I have to go. Do you mind hanging out with Aaron or do you want to come with me? I didn't mind, I said, then look at Aaron. Unless Aaron is tired of me. Not at all, he grinned as he winked at me. Rebecca looked at him, then at me. You guys better behave. Aaron and I looked at each other and laughed. Rebecca shook her head with a smile before walking away. You're not tired of me either, Aaron asked after we threw away the trash and began to walk. Not at all, I said, mimicking his tone. He grinned, then put his arm around my shoulder. Good. Now what shall we do today? Aaron and I ended up in San Diego. We went to see World. It was a beautiful day to be outside and we had a blast. I went from the girl who didn't go anywhere to touring California in just a few days. I didn't want the week to end. I didn't want to start school again. As Aaron and I looked at everything, I took a few selfies with him and posted them on Snapchat. My friends were going to be so jealous. I knew they were going to bombard me with questions once they saw the picture, and I loved it. A girl can dream. It was getting dark by the time we left the park. So, do you know what's up with Rebecca? I asked Aaron as we walked to the parking lot. I don't have a clue, Aaron said as he ran a hand through his hair. I looked up at him. Does Damian really love her? We reached his car, but we stood outside. There were people around us trying to find their cars, others trying to strap their kids inside. I leaned against the hood and Aaron stood in front of me. Damian suffered a lot when Rebecca left him, Aaron said. I had never seen him like that. Even my mom was concerned. I think she was desperate enough to look for Rebecca, and well, as you may know, she was not really fond of her. I knew that, and he continued. So, to answer your question, yes, I think Damian really does love her. He knew he wanted to marry her after 4 months of knowing her. He looked at me. What about Rebecca? Do you think she still loves him? I think she does, I said and shrugged. She never really talked about him. I'm sure we would have left it if I would not have called Damian. Aaron smiled as he sat next to me, our shoulders touching. Look at you being Cupid. I laughed, feeling myself blush a little at how close he was to me. It doesn't look good though, does it? Aaron shrugged. I don't know. I think they're both really stubborn. They make it hard to themselves. So she loves him, he loves her. So just be together, screw everything else. Wow, that's really romantic, I teased him. He chuckled as he rubbed his shoulder against mine playfully. I am pretty romantic guy. He turned to look at me. What about you? I smiled. I am I romantic? No. Oh, come on. Every girl is romantic and loves romance. Doesn't your boyfriend ever do anything romantic? He what Was he trying to figure out if I had a boyfriend? Oh, Alexa, you're in trouble. I don't have a boyfriend, I said. I've actually never been in a real relationship. Okay, that was too much information. He didn't need to know that. I haven't either, Aaron confessed, looking at me. I noticed his eyes looking down at my lips for a moment, making me shake a bit. 'Cause you're a player, I'm guessing. I teased as I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Okay, I was flirting. I didn't care. Aaron was hot and I could tell he wanted to kiss me. I wished he would just do it. It didn't have to turn into anything else. Just a kiss I could remember when I went back to Nevada. Just a kiss. Just one. I hadn't not been kissed in so long. I had forgotten what it felt like to have someone's lips against mine. Aaron stared at me for a moment. His brown eyes bored into mine and then they moved down to my lips again. I parted them slightly, inviting him. I'm not, he said in a low voice as he leaned in. He chuckled as he brought his eyes back to mine. Rebecca's going to kill me, he said before closing the gap between us. His kiss was soft and slow. It made the butterflies in my stomach go crazy. He placed his hand on my cheek as he kissed me. After a moment, he pulled away and looked at me with an amused look on his handsome face. Wait, how old are you again? Just want to make sure this is legal. I pushed him away playfully. You jerk. He chuckled and leaned in to kiss me again. I could not believe I was making out with the hottest guy of every... Sorry. I couldn't believe I was making out with the hottest guy I've ever laid eye on. I was technically making out with my brother-in-law. I had forgotten it my way after all. I had my kiss to remember. Wow. Wait lang guys. Chapter 15. Damian's point of view. My wife was hot, undeniably sexy, and I was the lucky man in the crowd who got to call the sexy girl playing volleyball, as the guys next to me put it, my wife. I didn't want to be an ass and announce it aloud so everyone knew, but these guys next to me were seriously starting to piss me off. I mean, they were not idiots. Rebecca looked stunning as she played volleyball. It didn't help that we were at the beach. She was wearing shorts with a bright ink bikini top and a white blouse on top. She looked different as she played, younger, brighter, happier, sexier. It reminded me of the good old days when we were dating. It felt like it was so long ago. So many things had changed, except for one. I was still the lucky man to call her mine. Barely a voice inside my head said, making me clench my jaw. Today was Friday. She was leaving Sunday morning. The thought of seeing her to go made me angry and sad at the same time. Angry at myself because I had not done anything to make her stay. I didn't want her to leave. I had to do something. I had taken the whole weekend off of work. It was the first weekend I had off in 4 years without seeing on call. I had asked a fellow physician to cover my absence in case someone needed help. I had my phone off. Nothing mattered right now, nothing but Rebecca and the time I had left with her. I needed to make it count. I knew we had to talk soon, so I needed to figure something out. I could not lose her again. I would not lose her. Hey, I turned to look at Alexa, who was back from getting some water. Are they winning? She asked as she watched the game. Yes, I think. I frowned. I didn't even know the score. I decided to change the subject. So you're going to NYU In the fall? She looked at me and nodded. I'll probably leave in June. Why NYU? I wondered. That was so far from California, even Nevada. I knew Rebecca would probably feel sad about her little sister living so far away. Alexa half smiled. Honestly, I never thought I would get a full ride scholarship to NYU, and it would not feel right to turn it down. I don't want to turn it down. I've always wanted to go to New York. I'm super excited. She smiled, showing off her teeth. She resembled Rebecca more when she was smiled. She smiled. Sorry. Did you? I put my hands in my pockets. Not like living with Rebecca? Oh, it's not that at all, she said quickly, almost looking embarrassed. I love my sister and feel bad about leaving, she gulped. Really bad. In fact, I don't know how I would ever live if you and her don't. She trailed off. There was a certain sadness in her face. That's the real reason you called me, I realized. Now it made sense why she had called me behind Rebecca's back. You want to feel less guilty about leaving her. Alexa looked embarrassed. I'm horrible, I know. You're not. Actually, if it were someone else, they would live without caring about how would feel. I glanced at Rebecca as she played, just in time to see her hit the ball. You need to fix things with her, Alexa said after a moment. I want her to be happy and I think you can do it. You can do that. She half smiled. I knew that. I'm trying my best. For the sake of both of us, try harder. She laughed nervously. I chuckled. Yes, Mom. She was really matured for her age. I realized that we had something in common. We both lost a parents. Of course, it could be argued that losing a parents at a younger age was much worse than when being older. I could not imagine the pain she must have felt losing her mother. And Rebecca, I just could not believe she didn't let me be by her side. Dude, the girl in the white short is so hot. Alexa turned to look at the guy who had said that, which was someone over to my right. I didn't even look and just focused my eyes on the game. I could not afford to lose my temper over jealousy. Sorry. It was not professional. You guys know he is her husband, right? Alexa called them out, pointing at me. I turned to glare at the group of guys. They were all shirtless and holding beers in their hands. They were probably in college. If not younger, they all looked at me with wide eyes. Sorry, man, the same guy said, raising his hands in defense. Alexa laughed as she turned her attention back to the game. I definitely like this girl. She was a great sister-in-law. It was another hour until the game ended. More people had arrived by then with coolers full with food and beers. There was music playing in the background. People were already getting ready to take over the net once this game was over. Aaron and Rebecca were laughing as they walked towards us after the game finally ended. We won. Aaron cheered. You were awesome, Reb. Thanks for coming. Rebecca smiled as she cleaned her face with a white cloth. Her cheeks were red, making her look adorable. It was fun, she said, smiling shyly at me. Thank you, she said when I handed her some water. Come on, let's eat, Aaron said, waving us over to his group of friends. We ended up eating hot dogs and chips with Aaron's gang. It was the first time in a long time I actually hung out with Aaron outside the house. It was actually fun to watch the sunset. I didn't realize how long it had been since I spent so much time outside. Rebecca and I ended up taking a walk down the beach after the group starting getting too wild for our liking. Alexa had stayed with Aaron. They seems to be getting along really well. Come on, Rebecca said as she reached for my hand and pulled me into the water. She laughed as she waves crashed onto us, getting us all wet. I smiled as I put my arms around her and kissed her. She smiled against my lips before parting her lips to allow me in. I wanted to say so many things to her, and at the same time, I didn't want to say anything that would ruin that moment. I felt different when I had her in my arms. I felt like a protector and vulnerable at the same time. She didn't know the power she had over me. I would do anything she asked me to do, except let her go. I could not do that again. I knew I would do anything to keep her by my side. Rebecca put her arms around my torso and rested her forehead on my chest. We stared at the waves for a moment, the water only reaching our ankles this time. "Do you remember our first kiss?" she asked after a moment. I smiled. "Yes, I do." "You attacked me," she laughed. I chuckled. "Yes, I did. It was on our fifth date. We had ordered food in and had stayed in my house. My parents were out and Aaron was in his room playing video games. We were in the living room playing UNO. I remember that it was her turn and I watched her as she stared at her cards. She looked so adorable as she concentrated on choosing the right one. As if it was life or death, she looked so beautiful. Suddenly, I could not wait and long at her. We ended up laughing and kissing on the floor. How could I ever forget that? That kiss confirmed that I wanted to marry her. I never thought I would ever meet someone and know in just a matter of months that I wanted to marry her without a doubt. Rebecca suddenly looked up at me. "We need to talk." I knew that because I knew she was right. We needed to talk. Without another word, sorry, wait lang. Without another word, we began to make our way back to what had turned into a party. It was dark, only the street lights illuminating the crowd, but it seems like it was only getting started. Rebecca went to look for Alexa while I waited for my car. I looked up at the sky as I waited. It was a clear, no clouds tonight. Rebecca made her way towards me with a towel wrapped around her. She half smiled as she leaned on the car next to me. "California has turned my sister into a party girl." I chuckled. "She'll be fine. Aaron will take good care of her." She frowned but didn't say anything. We stood there for a moment looking straight ahead. There were teenagers in the parking lot laughing and drinking, so worryless, so clueless about life. Rebecca rested her head on my shoulder and we stayed like that for a long time, both dreading the talk that was to come. Guys, hanggang doon na lang muna kasi mukhang mainit pero umuulan. And tagal-tagal pa to. May susunod po akong babasahing title. So, abangan nyo po kung kanino yun siya, kung sino po ang nag-request nun. Alam mo na po kung sino ka kasi ayaw niya rin pong pabanggit ng name. And pa-shout out daw kay Norahana May Unggi, my friend. Hi! Kumusta ka na dyan sa Iloilo? And okay lang. Thank you and good night everyone. Maulan na gabi.